Welcome to Future of Diversity, a guest chef program inviting chefs and food beverage specialists of color to showcase their talent and passions at Osteria la Spiga. My name is Sabrina Tinsley, and I'm the executive chef and co-owner of Osteria la Spiga. And with me today is Yesenia Pimentel. Yesenia Pimentel is a master mezcalier, which is essentially a mezcal sommelier. Her 2-year training period involved theory, written exams, and hands-on tasting and production from Mexico City to Oaxaca. And she's joining me today from her hometown of Zihuatanejo in Mexico. Welcome, Yesenia.
Hola, Sabrina. Nice to be with you.
Oh my goodness. I appreciate you taking the time to sit with us and talk a little bit about yourself and about what folks can expect with our upcoming mezcal tasting course. I was fortunate enough to meet you when we were visiting in November of last year, and you did a mezcal course for me and one other of our guests, one of our friends that was there. And I was blown away. I learned so much about mezcal and gained a whole new appreciation for the product. And so I had this brilliant idea of sharing your talents with our Seattle public, and you agreed. So thank you so much for joining us and being available to share your experience. But I wanted to start with about becoming a mezcalier, because I wasn't even aware that that was a thing, a sommelier. Is that a new certification?
Yes, it's kind of new since 2010. The program start to look for people involved on the service on hospitality business in order that we become kind of expertise with expertise or experts on mezcal. So they create the certification in order that we can help. We are really more than mezcalier. We are helpers. We are helping people to understand mezcal, because you can decide that mezcal is not for you, but it can happen something like happened to you, that you just discover something else, and mezcal is something that you, when you are very into the history and everything behind the label, everything inside the bottle, then it's like a newborn. I feel it like that. When I was into mezcal, I was just like what I was before this, you know. So yeah, the certification is kind of new, 2010. I was doing my certification on 2012, and after that I start with everything, drinking, of course, and reading a lot.
That's awesome. And how did you get started? Like, how did you even know that this was available to you? And tell me a little bit about the program that you attended.
Oh, it was at the time in Zihuatanejo, my hometown. It was happening a food and wine festival, a food and wine fest, and I was very involved in the organization, and I was in charge of bringing people who represent Mexico, talking about tequila and mezcal. So when I was doing that, I met mezcal makers, and they were talking to me a lot about their product, but I was pregnant. So I was in love with mezcal before I tasted. I was so passionate about the stories, so passionate about the process of making mezcal. So believe me, the first liquor or the first beverage I take after my nursing, because I have my baby after the nursing, it was mezcal. And for me, it was like incredible. I was reading a lot of information for 6 months plus almost a year without tasting. So I was like, my saliva was like, I really wanted to taste mezcal. So I just discovered, you know, on my certification, Sergio is the name of the guy who is in charge of this. He says something that I remember clearly. He say, you don't find mezcal. Mezcal finds you always. So I was thinking that I was finding something new, and he say no. Mezcal finds you. And it's something incredible because only when you start to be into this world, you discover many things, and it's like that. It's passion, is love, is everything, and then of course I hear many people talking about, oh, mezcal is a trendy thing. You have to drink mezcal. If you don't drink mezcal, you are not in. And I say, okay, it's good that many people see it like that, but if you start drinking mezcal because it's trendy, that's fine. But then sooner or later, you will find that mezcal is heritage that the ancestors led for the humanity. It's not only for Mexicans. Is to cure, is to enjoy, and is to be in contact with your spirit. Maybe I'm talking too much about spirits and soul, but it's the passion of mezcal, you know.
Clearly, you're very passionate about it. And that whole, the mezcal finds you definitely resonates with me, because I feel like mezcal has found me after our course. I've always enjoyed drinking mezcal since I discovered it. To me, it's kind of a new product, but obviously it's not. And so I've always enjoyed it. But I just learning so much about it for sure has definitely have a new appreciation for it. But with all this passion, like as a mezcalier and as a lover of mezcal, like how do you strike a balance between, drinking professionally and consuming professionally and personally? And in other words, like how do you stay sober?
You know, as I told you, mezcal to me means many things. And of course, I sometimes when you are like suffering, you have to drink mezcal just to cure your soul. But sometimes you don't need to drink mezcal. You just need to read about the family who made that mezcal. And sometimes I spend hours reading, observing the bottles, because there are many beautiful bottles. And most of the time when I'm tasting a new mezcal, for me, a new brand, I always do 5 different tastings. Today, I have half of a glass and I take my notes. Tomorrow, I do it again, and I do it in a week at least 4 times, but different days. So my feelings are different. I may be happier today than yesterday, and that affects my opinion. So when I'm tasting, I'm trying to be very focused on what I'm doing. And believe me, I have many bottles of mezcal at my house, many. And sometimes I can be without drinking mezcal almost for a month, nothing. I'm drinking maybe a beer because here the temperature is very high, but I can spend days and days without a drop of mezcal. But because I have to keep learning, sometimes I just reading. I'm just taking my notes or asking for some information behind a label, things like that. I try to really enjoy the whole experience. Mezcal is, as I told you, is liquor to drink with respect. There is a plant that was in the soil for more than 5 years, sometimes 20, 25. So I have to respect the time that the plant is spent in soil to bring or to create something unique. So when you find out that mezcal is everything about soil, spirit, culture, then you don't drink it in a shot. You don't empty a bottle in an hour or so. So to me, it's all that. So that's why I'm keeping my my time busy and other things, not only drinking every day.
Yeah, that's some very wise words, and I get the respect piece. That's huge. Let's go back to the beginning. I'm curious about the indigenous roots of mezcal making and the original uses, and how did they figure out how to distill agave and turn it into a beverage?
You know, there is not a specific date or a specific information, but it was a group of people from a Mexican university that they did a big research, and they find information that say that the ancestors were making mezcal using a particular clay pots. They were distilling the fermented agave juice. Of course, they have the most important elements to be making mezcal: the agave and the fire. Fire is very important in the process. So how they find it out is not a specific. There are many stories behind. There are stories that say that it was a god. You know, in America, we were believing in many gods: the god of the fire, god of the soil, god for this, for this, for that. So there are many stories, but yes, there is a big research that they find important elements that say that the ancestors were making mezcal in a very ancestral way, in following very specific steps to have the same result. The still liquor made from agave juice, fermented agave juice. So this information that they find is say that mezcal has to be made on the 400 years before Christ. So it's like wine. Here it's a little bit like wine. There is not a date, but seems like grapes and agaves were here forever. They were waiting that we just look around and find it. Even they find us because they are there forever, but you discover the way to create something with that. So yeah, 400 in the year 400.
That's fascinating.
Yes.
What are the politics around farming agave in Mexico? Does the government facilitate production?
No, really. You know, unfortunately, the government is not helping at all, in fact. Is the are the same people making mezcal who are like getting together. They are creating cooperativas. That's the name of the group of people who are together, and they are helping each other to, in one way, to share ideas on the protection of a specific type of agave, because there are agaves that are hard to grow. There are agaves that need more than 20 years just to be ready for the harvest. So if they don't keep a control on those specific types of agaves, are gonna disappear. So they are working on their own to protect agaves and to help each other to make or to learn new process to create better mezcal, better products. Our government isn't, they don't care so far about it. They just, of course, they like to know that tequila, mezcal, raicilla, and other liquors made from agave represents Mexico. But they are not helping really. I hope it's going to change soon, but something has to happen, hopefully soon.
Let's talk about women in mezcal. I'm very curious to know your opinion, or to understand if there's any discrimination against women in mezcal, and if there are any mezcal brands that are owned by women.
Yeah, okay. You know, women were always involved since the mezcal started to be made in Mexico. Women were very important in the production, because you will see women everywhere. If you go to Oaxaca or to any area here in my state, Guerrero, where mezcal is being made, you will see women everywhere. They are helping. In some part of the process, they are doing something. Unfortunately, yes, it's been more a thing that men are been doing, because believe me, it's a very hard work. And even I see women doing the harvest, which is very, very heavy, but it's dangerous. It's cutting a leaf of an agave is very dangerous. It's very sharpy. It's something that you have to be very strong. I'm talking in physical. And yes, that's why the men were the one more focused on that. But women have been helping all the time. And for example, now in Mexico, there are some women, mostly in Oaxaca, that are the head of the family. They are the ones who are making the whole process. They are in charge of the production. You see their name in the label of the bottle. So mostly because they receive the palenque. The palenque is the place where the mezcal is made it. So it's the distillery. So they receive the palenque as a heritage from their father, and they keep the tradition of making mezcal, because they learned since they were very, very since they were small. So You see some women, yes, and now there are more. And I think I told you this story about there is a deity. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. Deity, a goddess, deity, yeah, a goddess of that represents mezcal, and is a woman. Her name is Mayawel, and according to the story, it was a very a woman that has a big fertility because she had 400 breasts. So she had 400 babies to feed, and so all the gods, when they saw her that she was very strong on fertility, they decided to give her the power of becoming to be the mother of the agave. So she represents the agaves, and so for the story of mezcal, women are important, and thanks God is being more the presence of a woman in the process is being more stronger than before. Is stronger than before, and as you see now, some mezcalier like me that are women, and at the beginning it was only men. So now we are doing many things that men are doing. So it's happening, and it's good.
Great. Tell us about the mezcal that changed your life, or tell us a story about your favorite mezcal that you tasted once and long to taste again.
You know, it's hard. It's very hard to me to say one mezcal. I think I have one for each. Like depending on a particular event in my life, I have like my favorite, and I always say this to my friends or to people that I meet, and when we are talking about mezcal, I have mezcal that I love to drink by myself, for me only, because I think that there is like a connection between my spirit and the liquor I'm drinking and tasting. And there are other that I love to share with my friends, women, and other for men, other for rainy, other for when I'm sad, or but if I have to decide one, I will say that the mezcal I taste the very first time when I finished my nursing, after I was reading for almost 2 years information about mezcal, and I was like very in love of the stories of all everything I saw in information. The very first mezcal I have the chance to taste, maybe it's not the more expensive mezcal, maybe it's not the one that I will decide to be drinking every day, but I keep special memories or special feelings for that mezcal because it was the first one, and to me means many things. So it was they changed now the name, and it was called Mano Negra, and now they changed the name to Marca Negra, and it was a Tobalá. That's the type of agave, and I perfectly remember the bottle square with a label with a black hand in the label, and it was, to me, it was unique because of that. And on the other hand, the person who was representing that particular label, it was the one who started talking to me about mezcal. So, and he sent to me all the information I asked him to start into this incredible world of mezcal. So that's why I keep my, I think you are the first one that I mentioned a particular label and a particular type of agave. And you know, by the way, since they changed the name, it's hard to find it here at least. So I hope to find it sometime and drink it again, of course.
Well, your passion is contagious, and you are a fabulous ambassador for Mezcal. I just, I can't say enough about how much I appreciate the time that I spent with you and learning about Mezcal. If somebody wanted to contact you, maybe they're on vacation in Zihuatanejo, how can they get in touch with you? Let's get your the spelling of your name and they can look you up online. How about that? And do you have like an Instagram or?
You know, and Instagram, I have a very particular name that has a meaning. You know the meaning of that word, ishkik?
No, I don't.
You saw the particular container where we are drinking mezcal, right?
Yes, yes.
So it was an incredible story on the Popol Vuh book. The Popol Vuh. This particular container, it was the result of a story of twins that were killed by a very upset uncle. The twins were doing too much noise for the uncle, so he killed one of the twins. And he hung the head of the twin in a tree just to show that he was very upset. So that head becomes like a fruit of the tree. And this particular tree has this fruit that is very round and represents those twins that were making noise to the god. And in this fruit, when you cut it, you get a container to drink your mezcal. So Ishki is the name of the goddess who was crying in front of the tree when she saw this twin head hanging on the tree. So she was crying, and just because of that, she became pregnant and has another two twins to rescue in a way the twin that was dead. So it's a story that I just took the name because of the meaning. Ishkik is the name of this lady who got pregnant and has twins to rescue the soil or the soul of the twin that was dead. So the container, it was in a way represents the head of that twin. So it's a connection on mezcal. Sorry if I explained too much, but
no, not at all. It gives me goosebumps just to hear that story. I got a little bit choked up too because it's very touching.
And it's in the Popol Vuh, the book. I don't know if you hear about this book. It's a book, and it's there is the story.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. Again, inspiring. I'd love to hear those stories, those you know, very ancestral stories. Well, we really look forward to sharing some time with you. The other thing I wanted to mention is that so this story that you just told, the fruit that's hanging from the trees, like you said, they use they cut the fruit and they dry it, right? It's almost like a gourd of sorts, and they hollow it out, and then you use that for drinking your mezcal.
Yes.
So for the folks that purchased the kit, you sent us some of those gourds. So everybody is going to get one of those drinking gourds in their kit, and it's called a Sirian, right?
Cirian, yes. Yes.
Okay, Sirian,
It has
Ciran.
it receiving other names. Jicara, Sirian are the easier because there are others that are more complicated. But Jicara or Sirian, either is okay.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate you sending those along, and now everybody will have an opportunity to experience that in their kit. So
Sure.
I wanted to thank you once again for joining us today and for spending time and telling us your story. And we look forward to seeing you on Monday, May 23rd, for your course, which is going to be about an hour and a half.
Sure. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm very happy.
Wonderful.
Counting the days. Yes.
Yes. Wonderful. Well, we look forward to seeing you then, and you take care, and thank you again for joining us.
You too. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.